Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Gimmin here, back in another video. Today's episode, we're taking a look at Auradin for Season 11. So the way that Auradin works is instead of attacking with your actual skills, you just simply do damage just by kind of being around other mobs, and you let your auras do the damage and the work. So this is really good for speed farming because you quite literally just run around in circles and things around you just die, and you don't have to like actively use your skills and stop to use things that will slow you down. This is also excellent for speed farming due to how our arbiter form works. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit, but this essentially just turns your evade into a leap and gives you increased movement speed as well. So really good for, again, speed farming and just clearing the map very efficiently. So a lot of people could probably skip over this section if you already know what like the season theme is for season 11. But for just in case that you don't, you get to sanctify your gear at Hadriel's Forge, and this has a chance to add new stats, greater fixes, or even legendary aspects. But one thing is that the item does become unmodifiable, which means you can't temper, masterwork, you can't do anything else to the item once you put it into Sanctify. The only thing that you can swap out are gems and runes. So basically, this is a gamble on a piece of gear that you may not want, and you have to turn it into something really good. You can go ahead and sanctify it and hopefully get a good roll on the item. And just make sure that you have some replacement item in case you get a bad roll on it so that you can, replace it, obviously. So what you're looking for in this specific build, of course, are any sort of mythics. So these mythics would be great to have. Any of these aspects, we'll talk about the mythics and the aspects here in a bit. And then for fixes, you're looking for skill ranks or R skill ranks. This build scales very well with attack speed as well as critical strike chance, CDR, strength, all stats, and max life. For divine gifts, so divine gifts are essentially a reward increase that you can unlock through killing like Andriel, Duriel, even Belial. But for those increased rewards, you're going to get increased danger, and just depending on which divine gift that you actually pick. So to show you guys an example here, these are the divine gifts that we're actually running. So Essence of Lies, we'll be running Essence of Screams, Essence of Sin, and Essence of Pain. And then in the outer ring, Essence of Shadows, Essence of Anguish, Essence of Hellfire, and Essence of Squalor. Okay, so just quickly wanted to go over some of the seasonal stuff. So let's go ahead and go over some of the skills. So your main damage source is going to be something called Dawnfire, which is this item right here. It's these unique gloves. And this is actually the only requirement in this build, is to have these gloves so that you can proc this through your Holy Light Aura. You're not sure what Holy Light Aura is? It's over here on the very right. So this will passively damage any sort of mobs around you, but you can also reactivate this for a little bit additional damage on bosses. But that is only if you are going into the Rite of Judgment node. So just show you what that looks like. That's going to be this very bottom node down here at the very bottom. So Holy Light's active and said judges enemies, and its cooldown is reduced per rank. Again, the skills are going to be in the description of the video. We're going to have a link to the build planner, and you go and you can copy, all the skills, the same nodes that we have. We're also taking something called Arbiter of Justice. So this is basically going to increase our Arbiter form's duration. And that's going to be over here in the very bottom right. So send to the heavens and crash upon the battlefield as an Arbiter for 20 seconds, dealing 600% damage upon landing. So long story short, increased duration on your Arbiter form. We're also running Falling Star for mobility, so that's going to be down here in the very bottom. So this is actually going to be your main mobility tool, and you're going to use this to jump from pack to pack. And this is what's going to trigger our Arbiter form, because this is something called a Disciple spell. So I guess I'll go ahead and quickly talk about the Paladin Oath that we're running. So we are running Disciple. So let's quickly talk about what Disciple even is. So this is going to be the oath that we pick. So casting a Disciple skill with a cooldown grants Arbiter for 4.5 seconds. And that's the main thing that we're after here. You also get a couple bonus effects. So Wing Strikes gain Disciple skill benefits. And then while in Arbiter form, your Disciple skills deal 50% increased damage. So long story short, every time we press Falling Star, we basically proc Disciple, and it puts us in that Arbiter form. We're also running Fanaticism Aura. This is going to basically just be a debuff that we're putting on the enemies. And you see we're running like a lot of different things like this, like a Fanaticism Aura, Defiance Aura. So long story short, Defiance Aura is going to make us very tanky, and Fanaticism Aura is going to debuff the enemies. And then finally, we're also running a Consecration. So this is going to give us some healing for defensive and do a bit of damage as well. And in the starter variant, you're actually going to be running Condemn. I don't think I have Condemn on here, but Condemn is also a Disciple skill. So this is going to allow us essentially to proc our Arbiter form more, since we're not going to have much CDR early game. Falling Star will not be enough. So you'll actually be running Condemn as well in the starter variant. Your typical rotation is going to be Arbiter of Justice, Falling Star into Condemn, This is going to keep us in Arbiter form, which will always be priority. Keep your debuffs and buffs active, as well as your Holy Light to actually deal damage. And any downtime that you have between doing this, you'll be using Consecration Spam. Okay, I'm just going to quickly pan through this. If you want to take a look at some of the individual skills that we're running, again, there's a build link in the description of the video, but just a quick pan here. We kind of talked about all this already. So you can just kind of get an idea. You can pause the video throughout here if you'd rather do that as well. Okay, so these are going to be the main aspects that you're going to be focusing on. So two of the main aspects I want to focus on is Aspect of Ascension and Aspect of Celestial Strife. So Aspect of Celestial Strife is going to increase our vulnerable damage that we're doing to targets. And the main way that we're actually going to be proccing our vulnerable is going to be through our Falling Star here. This will proc vulnerable as well as our Arbiter of Justice. And we're also looking for ramps on our Judicator skills. So we have Aspect of Proselytizing, and we actually have it on here twice by accident. But you want to make sure that you gain this aspect as well, because our Holy Light as well as our Consecration are both Judicator skills. And since that is our main damage source, we want to be buffing that. Angelic Masterbreak is also huge. This will increase our resistances by 100 to 140%. While in our Arbiter form, which again should be pretty much permanently. And we also have an aspect for armor as well. So in terms of the uniques, we've already talked about Dawnfire, right? And the passive damage that comes from that. This is the main thing that you want to get. Another one is going to be the Griswold's Opus here. So this is going to give us a stacking critical strike damage modifier, and at maximum stacks, our critical strikes have a 50% chance to deal double damage. It's like a critical strike, critical striking on itself, essentially. And you also get a chance to heal when that procs. And then on the left here, Godslayer Crown. This is going to be great for grouping mobs. And what's really nice about Godslayer Crown is we get that CDR that's going to allow us to stay in that improved form a little bit longer. And not only do you get that bonus pull-in effect, you also get this 30 to 60% damage modifier as well. In terms of mythics, we're going to be running Air of Perdition as well as Shroud of False Death. Shroud of False Death is honestly just like an insane stat stick. You get movement speed, you get a ton of stats, +1 to all passives, 800 max life, which is pretty insane. And overall, this is going to give us about 60 to 70% more damage. Then we also have Air Perdition over here on the left. And a long story short with this is just basically an improved version of Godslayer Crown. It's going to give us a 20% critical strike chance, 200% damage amp, 20% movement speed, and then a 60% damage amp as well. So just absolutely insane, mainly just used for damage versus Shroud of False Death, which is going to give us some defensive capabilities with it. Okay, in terms of our runes, this is going to be the recommended setup is these two sets here. So these first two runes, the reason you want to run these is because this is going to summon the Wolf Companion, which will basically carry your Holy Light aura on them. So if you're speed farming, you're really not going to be taking any health damage. So you'll be able to proc this very often, to get that offering to proc these Wolf Companions. And these two runes just kind of fuel the rune up here as well. So this rune is going to grant us the barrier that keeps us from taking health damage. And this rune over here on the right is going to get us a whole bunch of offering for keeping those active summon wolves, alive and actually active. So kind of got a yin and yang effect here between these four runes. In terms of our glyphs, these are going to be the glyphs that we're running. You prioritize these: Spirit, Judicator, Hone, Resplendence, and Canny up to 15. And then this will be the order from 15 to 46. But long story short with these is Resplendence is CDR. Honed is going to be resource generation. Judicator is going to be an amp on our Holy Light. Spirit is going to be increased critical strike damage. And Canny is going to be an amp to non-physical damage. Basically the damage from our Holy Light. And then quickly going over our legendary nodes, we'll be taking a Castle. It's going to give us a damage equal to our armor. On our next board, we'll be running Relentless, increased damage and cooldown reduction while we're on the move. Our next board, we'll be running Preacher. We'll get increased attack speed with our Zealot skills. And then on our final board, we'll be running a Shield Bearer. You deal increased damage equal to 110% of your block chance. All right, guys, that's been this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribe to the channel. Again, there'll be a build link in the description of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.